A good and a pleasant day to our listeners. I am Mr. Joey C. Villanueva and welcome in this new lecture series for the Introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person. The Introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person is a course that is offered to senior high school students in the Philippines, and I am assuming that this is also done in other countries. This is a new lecture series as I previously had a series of lectures in a mix of Filipino and English. So I'm now creating this lecture series in English for those students, for our listeners who may not understand Filipino. These are retakes of my previous lectures. And in case my students would listen to this lecture as well, I am asking for your apology if this is not what happened and transpired in our class, as I am doing flashbacks of our lecture and I may have done some improvements to our lesson. Before we fully discuss what philosophy and what philosophy of the human person is, we have to ask the questions. Why are we studying philosophy? Why are we studying philosophy of the human person? How should we do philosophy? And what exactly is philosophy? First, let us ask why study philosophy? Why is philosophy offered in senior high school? I would highly recommend our listeners to watch the video Everybody Dies, but Not Everybody Lives by Prince EA in YouTube. You can do it sometime after or before you proceed to our discussion in philosophy. In brief, this YouTube video questions how you live your life. What do you want? What do you need before you die in order for you not to die with regret? And this is important to us because we need to ask that same question in our journey in philosophy. Socrates, one of the greatest and well known philosophers, is quoted as saying that an unexamined life is not worth living. So the YouTube video of Prince EA and our preliminary discussions in philosophy would actually demand of us to examine our lives to make it worth living. So again, in asking why do we need to study philosophy or philosophy of the human person, which is just one branch of philosophy, we will answer we need to study it so that you as students can understand your own self, can understand others, can understand what it is to be human. That is, understand your humanity or understand your humanness. Philosophy of the human person is offered in senior high school so that students can be trained to think rationally and think critically. More so if you're already doing this in your other subjects. Learning the philosophy of the human person should direct the students to live a reflective and meaningful life, which I believe is the ultimate purpose of this course. Now, after we answered why we need to study philosophy, we now want to ask, how are we going to do this? How would we learn philosophy? How would we do philosophy? Because doing philosophy is exactly what we want to do in this course. Incidentally, all the textbooks that I examined when it comes to this course begins not with the what, but with the how of doing philosophy. And to simplify what all these textbooks discuss, doing philosophy entails asking the big questions in life. So this would be beneficial to us in beginning this course in philosophy. That is learning to ask the big questions in life. So some of the big questions that we may need to ask in this introduction to the philosophy of the human person course include, what does it mean to be human? When we say that we are introducing ourselves to the philosophy of the human person, the primary question would be, what does it mean to be human? As young people, as students, you have your own set of skills, abilities, and talents. And it's also an important question to ask yourselves. How should you use your skills, abilities, and talents in living a meaningful life? The desire to live a meaningful life may also come from asking the question, what is death? Why do people have to die? And exploring the themes of the philosophy of the human person also would also lead us to asking and answering the question, how should I be living my life? How should I be behaving? The how of doing philosophy does not only entail asking the big questions, it will also direct us to exert our effort to answer these big questions on our own by the use of our own thinking skills and whatever resources we may happen to have. That is by using our own mind, by broadening our knowledge, by broadening our understanding of our own selves, the things and the events that are happening around us. So now let us go back to the question, what is philosophy? So let us just make a quick note on this. Etymologically speaking, philosophy came from two Greek words, philos and sophia. Philos meaning love, and sophia meaning wisdom. So literally, philosophy means love of wisdom. But it can also mean a friendship or a constant companionship with wisdom. So literally, philosophy means love of wisdom. But in real life, in practice, how do we go about it? Philosophy simply means that constant desire to be wise, that constant desire to increase in wisdom, that constant thirst and wanting to know and understand more of ourselves, more of the events that are happening around us. In short, loving wisdom, philosophy simply means our constant desire to be learned and to be wise. And when we do that, when we love wisdom, when we pursue wisdom constantly, we are not easily fooled. We are not easily misled. We can take control of our own life. We can make meaning of our own existence. If Socrates tells us that the unexamined life is not worth living, learning learning philosophy of the human person is a journey towards meaningful existence. It's examining our lives in order to make it worth living, to make it more meaningful. I wish all of you, our listeners, a wonderful life and a wonderful journey in this course in the philosophy of the human person. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I would like to invite each and every one of you listeners to join me in this lecture series in the introduction of the philosophy of the human person. Please subscribe to this channel, share it with your classmates, invite them to subscribe as well. You can drop your questions in the comment section below, and hopefully I can be able to answer your questions and help you in this philosophical journey. Once again, thank you very much.